So let's think about some of the cues that we that are common, either in dance or in fitness. So one would be pull the belly button to the spine. Let me turn sideways, and I'm going to turn Skelly as well here, so it can help us out. So we have already moved in this area where we have this nice convex curve in the lumbar. So when you pull the belly button to the spine, what does that do to your lumbar? It is undoing that curve. It also restricts your breathing. We saw that in the first class. So it creates this very flat image. You see my spine now compared to Skelly's or compared to this. So maybe in some capacity, like if you're trying to hold still, that can be helpful. But is it helpful if we're moving through space? Just posing a question. Another cue is squeeze the shoulder blades together or open the chest. Now, I'm going to keep Skelly like this. You see this concave curve? And let's try to do the same. Squeeze the shoulder blades together and see how this is undoing the curve of my thoracic spine. And the goal here is to actually open up the chest. But is that good if we are sacrificing something else? And how does that allow for the rib cage to drop and lift as we are breathing? So we want to keep all this work that we did looking at these curves, and at the same time create a posture that allows us to move through space with comfort, with ease, with support, and without going at the other end of the spectrum where we're letting go and we're causing damage in that way. So let's put Skelly slightly around this way so you can see me a little bit better. We're going to focus on this top part in order to open up the chest. And I'm going to slide them a little bit closer to you just so you can see those sections, and then we're going to get to moving. So there we go. We're going to focus on this area that we call the medallion, and this is the sternum, and this is the xiphoid. So the xiphoid is actually a separate bone of its own. It's not. It's connected through a ligament, but it's not the same one and continuous bone with the sternum. So this also connects to the diaphragm. Just a reminder from our first class. We're going to start movement from this area, and we're going to see how it connects through that linea alba to the pelvis at the pubic symphysis. So let's put Skelly to the side and create very gentle pressure. The moment you touch, you're going to feel as if someone caught your breath there for a moment. So be very gentle. And we're going to start with rotation, because rotation is actually easy to capture. So good. When you're ready, rotate this spot and see how it translates into the spine. Come back to center. It's not directly connected to the spine, but it immediately relates movement to that. Notice also how it changes. Your breath is changing, right? And come back and turn and come back. One more time. Turn. And notice how that trickles all the way up into the neck, into the head. Last time. And come into center. And now I'm just going to turn so you can see me a little bit better. Take the xiphoid forward and up, and then back and slightly, it's going to go slightly up. And if you keep your mouth open, you're going to notice that you're breathing, the air is coming in and out. And the quality of the movement is very different compared to when we were doing it from the back. Once you start finding movement here, your breaths are going to be more full because we are we're changing the pressure over the lungs, and we're waking up the diaphragm. Last one. And as you could imagine, we're going to go into a side-to-side tilt, coupled with rotation, of course. And come back. Last one. And come back to center. We're now going to create that pivot, starting with just the rotation around the vertical axis, and specifically starting at the upper body. We're not going to involve the lower body for this first part, but try not to block any movement that arises in the lower body. It's just that we're not blocking it. It's just we're not focusing at it at the moment. So let it happen, but just ignore it. So let's start from the head. Then we're going to move down to the medallion, then down to the sternum, and then down to the xiphoid. And this is not usually how things happen. Usually this pattern is more sequential, has more flow, but we want to feel the end of range that we have in each vertebra, in each part of the spine that allows for rotation. And at the same time, still have a focus at the front body. So let's go. Start from the head. And you go and you rotate around the vertical axis. Once you start feeling that the neck is starting to, the neck muscles are starting to adjust, you've gone a little bit too far. You need to back up a little bit. So head, then the medallion, then the sternum. You can use the hand to gently touch like I'm doing. And then the xiphoid. And here you're probably already feeling your hips want to act. So let it happen. You can fight it, but this is part of that coupling that we have talked about. Rotation comes always with a little bit of a side bend. So that's why you feel the hips not only want to rotate, but they want to come up also. And now, from the xiphoid, you come back to center. Sternum, medallion, and head. And let's go over to the other side. So head, medallion, sternum, xiphoid. Notice also how that affects your breathing. And follow the reverse pattern. Xiphoid, sternum, medallion, and head. We're going to do one on each side. Try to notice how that focusing along this front line of the body changes your perception of how your spine moves. So here we go. Head, medallion, sternum, xiphoid, and xiphoid, sternum, medallion, and head. Over to the other side. Head, always not going to the end of range. Maybe you kiss the edges, but try not to go there. Medallion, sternum, xiphoid, and reverse. Xiphoid, sternum, medallion, and head. And now let's go with a little bit more flow. Try not to stop at each spot. So here we go. Start with the head, but feel the nodes of transfer. Here we go. Head to the xiphoid and xiphoid to the head. Head to the xiphoid, xiphoid to the head. One more time. And you can go at your own pace. You don't need to follow me, but maybe faster wouldn't be the best idea. And come back to center once you're ready. Good. Now we're going to take our focus and take a big picture of the body. So we're going to shift our focus from just the upper body to upper and lower. And like we said before, once we've reached this point, head, medallion, sternum, xiphoid, already the hips, you might have been feeling that the hips want to do something. What is that something? It's a counter rotation, and it's also that side reach. So you're the same shoulder and hip, they come closer together. That's based on how our spine is structured. So we're going to see this. And this pattern, you see, is part of how we walk. So we're going to go reach this point, allow for the hips to settle into their new position. Notice these relationships and make sure that the knees are soft and they're alternating as necessary. So they're not locked in one position. What I mean to say is that this is clearly wrong, because you see now how my knees are not only extended, they're hyperextended and they're blocking my hips from moving, but also this is wrong. Keeping both knees at the same spot no matter what you're doing. You want to allow the knees to alternate to help you finish. They want to be part of the movement. They are part of the movement. So you don't want to lock them in one position. Let's go. Start from the head again. We're sequencing from head down. We're going to do the reverse in just a minute. So head, medallion, sternum. Maybe even here you're starting to feel the hips giving you a little bit of a tingle. Xiphoid and hips. And now going from the hips to undo, to unwind and come back to center. Head, medallion, sternum, xiphoid, hips. And now this hip, what is it doing? It's dropping, so it's releasing this rotation by dropping slightly and unwinding. So hips, xiphoid, sternum, medallion, head. Let's go. Find your own pace. Try not to go too fast. Notice all these nodes. And what will really help is if you find that linea alba that we have been talking about, from the xiphoid to the pubic symphysis. You can even have two hands there. Now, this really helps to bring out this relationship between the upper and the lower body. You can see that immediately once The lower part, the pubic symphysis, changes its orientation. The upper part, the xiphoid, starts to unwind as well. Let's go for one more on each side. And that, of course, is vice versa. Once the xiphoid starts to rotate and move, then the pubic symphysis also reacts at the other end. And